we'll play another game here anyway. So we're at 4:30. 4:24, I should say. My opponent's 4:30. Alright, we're going to stick with the Caro-Kann because it's just solid. I'm going to play c6 against e4. Oh yeah, no limitation. I forgot about that. I'll do it at some stage. Oh, Mr. Someone, Fall Guy. Fall my guy. Not a problem, man. It's all good, sir. You know, I don't read every title of every stream I go into, so it's all gravy. No problemos. Alright, what do we do when an opponent starts doing something like this? Like, I am obviously happy with my current abilities playing into this endgame. Oopsies. Taking the queen if I wanted to. So like d takes e4, d takes e4, queen d1, king d1. I have no problem playing that. It's not bad, I think, for either side. It's not as bad for white as you would think either, I think. Will I play it? Probably not. I don't think a lot of players are going to want to play into this, especially at this rating range. Maybe I would take. You know what? I think it's probably simple to take, but the other options are either e6, but then you're allowing e5, and then you have to know how to deal with this, or something else. I think I'll just simply take it, actually. I may not take the queen up. What I might do is I might develop a piece, or there's always a check. Then bishop d2. You know what? I'm trying to work out whether I play into the endgame or not. I think I will. I will just play into the endgame. I see no reason not to. I don't think a person at 400, 400, 500, 600 should be afraid of going into an endgame. All right. Oh, no worries, limitation. No worries, bro. If you remind me after this game, like maybe mid-analysis, I can play it afterwards if you like. It's more about me remembering. I think a lot of people would be tempted to go here. It might be a good move. I probably would do this 1,000 times in other games, but after bishop g4, if they go h3 and I take, that maybe that's better for me, but bishop g4, bishop e2, I probably don't want to take this. However, maybe I do want to take it because it is a bit of a Caro structure. After I get e6 in that position, I'd have a lot of pawns and light squares. Well, it would be like this. You know what? I do likely want to castle long anyway, so I'm going to either move this knight, which I don't want to bring it to a6, because that allows them to develop a piece, damn it, like double my pawns, and then also bring a rook in. So this would be a bad move, in my opinion. I don't think I want to go knight d7, because that's going to take me an extra move to get the bishop out and then castle. So I think by process of elimination, considering I'm very unlikely to castle kingside, because I also, when I do manage to castle long, it is also going to potentially come with a check if they don't move the king. I may as well actually go, funnily enough, bishop g4. And I'm actually thinking, after looking at the structure, if they go here, I will develop. I'll just continue to develop. If they then proceed to go h3, I would take. And I would actually be okay with that, knowing that with their light square bishop, and if I manage to put a lot of my pawns on light squares, it would be counteracting their bishop a little bit, and it would actually be a decent trade for me, I think. Here, though, this is a bit of a better version for me, I believe. I would just take. Normally you don't want to just trade a bishop for a knight, but in this case, I see it to be justified. The computer may disagree with me. We'll find out. Here, once again, I'm not going to go to a6. I'm going to go to d7. And it is, in my opinion, best for me to bring this knight out first, so I can immediately castle. Okay, they kind of are changing that for me a little bit. I can't immediately castle, because if I go castles, they actually can straight away take on f7. However, that will be a blunder for them, but they may not see it. Okay, I don't think this is an overly complicated tactic, so I will actually just make this move, and some of you guys would maybe see what I'm about to do and maybe not, so we'll see. I don't think this is overly complicated for this ELO range, so I think I'm willing to do this, even though the idea of this is not to kind of get too complicated. I'm actually going to give up the pawn on f7. And I'm not sure if you guys see what the trick is. If they take the pawn, they're going to be losing a piece. Okay, so they didn't take it. Had they taken an f7, there would have been 95, and you might be asking, how is it winning a piece? But it would be winning a piece because this would be a check because of the discovery. Here, they're actually walking into e5 as well, so... Well, Pabu, of course you see the idea. But most people who are probably bothering to watch this slow run at 400 ELO are probably not as high rated as you. Well, I mean, some people might be. The trick is still available, by the way. So I'm just deciding if I let this happen again. So it's also useful sometimes to allow your opponents to blunder. What I mean by that in this position is, depending on if I had a different good developing move and I was allowing this to be, you know, quote unquote hanging again, it would be good. But I'm not quite sure there's a good move that I want to play to allow this. So for example, after knight f6, you know, maybe they have some e5. They actually don't, because I have this. This looks like it's winning the same thing, but it's actually not, because after the bishop drops back, after takes, I'm winning a pawn. But then after king e2, I have to drop back. It just doesn't seem like the winning move. It likely is, but I'm just deciding if there's anything better first. No, I don't want to overcalculate. I am actually just going to develop this piece, because same tactic applies. If they go e5, I can actually just take because of the check. So this is why castling along was one of my ideas here, because when I cast along, it's just the king's still on d1, just in the line of fire with my rook. And we say, rook at this, brother. Your king is stuck. Well, the king's not stuck, but king is over there. Here I can win a pawn if I want to. Once again. No, so, and by the way, I'm not pushing e5 because I really want this idea. Same thing here. The bishop always goes back though. All right, I may as well just win a pawn now. And after this, I probably wouldn't take this. I'd probably take the other way. No, well, maybe at this stage they are planning on moving the king. I actually don't know. Maybe I give them one more chance to blunder it. No, I think at this stage I may as well just take the pawn. Okay. How do I usually calculate? It depends on the position. If there's any specific positions you're not sure how or why I'm calculating something, you can let me know. Okay, so they unfortunately missed that the bishop could actually go back. So it will win me the bishop. I usually wouldn't overly calculate it. It kind of depends. Like, the more time you have and the more complex the position is, the more I would want to calculate. But in terms of how do I actually calculate, it's just kind of practice. A lot of the practice comes from doing like slow puzzles or just, I guess, pattern recognition. Like I'm personally an advocate of people practicing blindfold stuff, but you don't need it either. But just making your way through some candidate moves. And what I mean by that is, like, what are the most 2 or 3 obvious moves that you think of in a position, and then you just calculate 1 or 2 moves ahead. And like, what's the most obvious move for you, and then what's the opponent's most obvious reply. And after a while, that becomes a little bit easier. Okay, here they're attacking this. I don't actually have to move this knight yet. I'm considering going e5. Why am I considering e5? Because if they, you know, take, I take. Here, if they take my knight, I take their bishop, and then these pawns are actually fixed over here, and they have to do something to get rid of this pawn. Maybe they go there, I don't know. But then at this stage, this would be a checkmate. And if they just move this bishop, I will simply move this knight. So I think this is actually a pretty good move. I was gonna say great move, but I wouldn't go that far. I am threatening a checkmate. Okay. I was threatening a checkmate, I think, if they moved like this. At the very least, it's definitely winning. So bishop a3, check. They only have 1 move. They have to go this way. And then this will be a checkmate with the horsey, because they will not be able to go back and they will not be able to go here. So this is just a checkmate in 2. So Mr. Fall, my guy, a lot of it comes from kind of repeated tactics training, repeated puzzles, and just spotting the same patterns in your games. And trying not to make just blunders as much as possible. But you know, you'll see the way I walk through, the way I am walking through these tactics. Like that was only a 2-move tactic. Like from doing enough puzzles, I'm able to recognize that in a position like this, the rook is preventing the king from escaping. If I get a check over here, there's only a forcing move, and since the king is forced to go to a square, it's always worth calculating forcing lines. So things that your opponent has to comply with. They have no choice. So here he, in a position like this, after he moves the bishop, I know for a fact he has no choice but to move the king to b1, and in that position, then I just calculate maybe one more move and see, is there another forcing move? And by process of elimination, there's either rook d1, but he can just take it. And the only other forcing move that made any sense to me was giving another check. So after check, king moves over, check. I realize no square here for them to escape, no square here for him to escape again. So that's why it's a checkmate. Should you analyze more of your games? If you want to improve, I'm not sure what your rating is. But definitely one of the best ways to improve is analyzing your own games. And it doesn't have to be a drastic analyzation. It can be trying to look at a couple different spots in your game where you weren't sure if you were correct. You know, trying to calculate it without looking at the computer lines, like the engine afterwards, and then confirming whether you were correct. So yeah, definitely at 500. I definitely would look at your games, at least for a second afterwards, at least 30 seconds, you know? So I'm gonna eat my ice cream. I just realized it's starting to melt. Oh geez, it's gone everywhere. Oh no, half of it's falling off the stick. Oh no, give me my ice cream. But yes, the idea behind this slow run that I'm doing here is pretty much not to have to over calculate, because I feel like it's not going to be super helpful if I'm trying to calculate 5 or 6 or 7 moves, which is almost impossible most of the time anyway for me. But just develop, don't push pawns for no reason. Don't go for one move threats if it's very, very easily defended. And just try not to weaken things, make sure the king is safe and castled. And then from that point, you know, when the opportunity arises, 1 or 2 moves like that, based on some patterns that maybe we've seen in puzzles, you know, go for a checkmate, at least until like 1,000, you know, 1,500. I feel like that's very doable. All right, let me have a quick look here. So this was just Caro-Kann. Here, we just traded into an endgame. I didn't see any threats for them. So should you analyze multiple moves? So I wouldn't, in your game, like if you don't need to force it in terms of like, if you don't see anything in a position, you don't need to calculate what happens if you move a random pawn, for example. Because you don't want to use too much time. You can do that stuff after a game. It is worth doing that stuff after a game sometimes. Most of the time I would, even one thing that could benefit is even if you kind of just go through the game, look at the moves you were considering, just naturally, you know, like that's why it is sometimes worth watching strong players. Like not me, I'm talking about like other people. Like, you know, I used to watch a lot of YouTube when I was learning more, and sometimes they would make certain moves in certain structures, and those are the things I'd be thinking about in my own games. Like, you know, sometimes certain different pawn breaks and stuff. Probably I would do a lot of puzzles, and because then you see reoccurring themes in your own games. But what you could do afterwards, if you want to spend a little bit of extra time learning how to calculate, is you could, after you do a very, very simple calculation yourself, and then you want to confirm things with the engine afterwards, if you just step through the game, so like let's just say we're going like this, and I was stepping through the game, stepping through, kind of just looking, you know, maybe I make up my own decisions, and then at some stage, if I see like a massive jump here in the eval, but maybe it was not something I considered in the game, just spend like a minute and try to see if you can work it out. Like, what is it in this position that's so weird? You know, why am I super winning here? And then, you know, maybe if you didn't see it in the game, but then you decide, oh, actually, snap, I'm winning a piece. He's got some Gotham slow run, a good way to learn. I never watched this slow run. I don't think I watched this slow run, but I did learn a lot of stuff from him back in the day, so I don't see why not. I like Gotham chess. I've yeah seen a bunch of his videos. You'll learn some opening stuff. Definitely, he's obviously a lot better than I am. Hello, Moon. What's up, sir? Jeez, Moon. Somebody's feeling a bit frisky. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? Alright. Let's try to keep this family friendly over here, Mr. Moon Wonder. Alright, so this was relatively also kind of straightforward game. After they just kind of blundered the checkmate. So here once again, you don't always want to trade a bishop for a knight, but after they took with the king, which, you know, they had to take with the king then, it was at least semi-justified. And what I mean by that is because I had plans of just getting quick development. Sorry, I can't draw an arrow. Quick development and castling. I thought the best move here was probably the bishop, not h3. I would have still continued with the same thing. And I thought if in this position they went there, I would take, they would take, and then I would go e6. And then if we look at this, at this stage, this bishop is not staring at much, even if they push this pawn. I thought maybe the game would continue something like this, and then here, and I'm just making some moves. And then maybe I get the knight out here or the bishop out, and then still visually not the most strong bishop here. Why are we reviewing 400 ELO games? This is one of my ELO games, sir. Oh, no limitations, all good, bro. No worries, man. I hope you have a good sleep, and I guess I'll play the bot next time then. Let me know, man. Momanda, if you look at the title of the Twitch right now, you will be able to work out why I am playing 400 games, like 400 ELOs. That's right, sir. Alright. Let me continue forth. Let me continue on. Yes, so this was kind of what I thought the game might trend towards instead. Yes, they allowed me to kind of... This was a worse version for them after takes and takes. Still, the computer still says it's okay, but I think it's more about if they ever get this. Like if I castle this way, and then they maybe get like h4, bishop h3 to control this diagonal. I don't think it was more about coming out this way. Probably this does attack f7, but after this, my initial idea was if they took my pawn, I'd go here, check, and then you could see, you're like, how is this winning? They can just move the bishop. Well, unfortunately for them, they're in check. The only way they can move this bishop and get out of check is to actually block the check. So after this, you can see this is guarding this, but this is still there. Just take it. So it's basically going to end up being a bishop and a pawn. Well, a bishop, because they took a pawn on f7. And if they simply move the king, like in this position, they don't see that this is even hanging. They just go, uh-oh, or they do this or this. Let's just say this. Then I take. That was the idea. Okay, not too shabby. When are we playing Mittens? Bruh, Mittens would absolutely pulverize me. Alexandra, how are you doing? We're doing a slow run here, so we're just kind of going through the low elos currently, or the lower elos, I should say. So this is maybe third or fourth stream, I think. Some of these videos will end up on YouTube, so I'm not sure if you want to check out the games when I was only about 100. I've only added 2 of the games so far, but they will slowly end up on there. But this is the YouTubes. In a car ride? Nice. Don't know where you're going, but have fun. Unless it's like a car ride, like you're at like a theme park or something, but I assume you're just driving somewhere. Anyway, over here. The rest of this game was pretty straightforward, by the way, after they did miss. So what I was calculating in this game, I'll just quickly finish this analysis before I move on, is I thought they were going to go back and block. And then the reason I wouldn't have taken this pawn, even though it looked just to me like a free pawn, was because I don't want people to have to calculate, oh, what if they then somehow go like this? And then, you know, you have to be able to see that the knight can come back or it can go there. I just didn't think I had to do that, even though it is obviously just a free pawn. I was at that stage back there, I was looking at this, takes, and then take this guy with check. And then I thought the king would come this way, and then I would just move the rook all the way back. And I thought all of these lines are winning. This is, you know, probably attackable too at some stage. If this guy falls and this guy falls, this guy will likely fall too. And I figured I'd probably go e6, bishop d6, or bishop e7. I thought it'd all be old gravy. Wouldn't be any problems. And then, yes, they just blunder checkmate in 2. But not super obvious for somebody, I think, this rating, why it's so dangerous to go this way. Well, I mean, here, of course, they had nothing better to do, but here they probably just needed to move this bishop. This is what I was looking at. But it actually still blunders the same tactic. The only difference being I have to get rid of the bishop first. Because this is at least protecting against the checkmate. If they go anywhere away from this like they did, then that's just the checkmate. So